Now, just before we finish, Liam, there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you, and the fascinating developments in the English game. There's a young man playing for Chelsea called Hudson Odoi, and Bayern Munich have offered 30 million to sign him. He's one of those players that they've nurtured at Chelsea, and the club want more money. He wants to go. It's fascinating to me. There's another lad who I'm sure you'll know, Reece Nelson, who is a former Arsenal youth player.
Well, he still is an Arsenal player. He's on loan, Eamon.
He's out on loan to Hoffenheim, I understand, and has done very well. But, I mean, it strikes me as extraordinary that Chelsea should have a young player who's worth 30 million, and they want more for him. He can't get in the team. A team that's struggling at the moment.
Well, that's why it's all a bit strange, isn't it? A bit ridiculous, really, when a player can't get in your team, but yet you want over 30 million quid from him. But you know, that's the amount of money that's in the market at the moment. He's definitely a player of promise, and I'm sure Bayern Munich have watched him play for England younger teams. I think he won the 19 under 17. World Cup with England. He was in one of the teams that was successful. But when I've seen him come on for Chelsea, he's had a couple of cameo roles. I think he came on against Watford recently. And I thought, well, yes, you know, it's difficult for a young lad, and you're trying to judge him in 20 minutes. You're trying to say so, you know. But he didn't jump out at me, and the fact that he's not in a Chelsea team more often kind of tells you that Sarri doesn't think he's ready. You know, so it's going to happen. You see, what happens, Eamon, is these kids get really good contracts at 17 for 3-4 years. And then by the time they're 20, if they're not getting in the team, they don't want to sign new contracts.
And they have
they're saying, well, why should I sign a new contract? I want to be playing. You're 20 now. You want to be playing first team football.
Yes.
And if someone like Bayern Munich is saying, like, why don't you come to us and we'll put you in the team, as that Jadon Sancho did when he went to Borussia Dortmund from Man City, I think we're going to see, you know, good young English players who are not getting a chance, maybe going to Europe to get their chance.
Right. And I just...
Because every manager in England seems to be under pressure, whether it's relegation or whether it's trying to get into Europe, into the Champions League, or actually winning the Premier League. And they don't give many kids a chance. It's getting harder for kids. It's getting worse for kids.
Yes.
If you look at someone like Foden, who's a gifted player at Man City, he doesn't really play in the big matches. He never really features. No,
and you mentioned Jadon Sancho there. He's playing for Dortmund. He's playing really well. He's capped by England. And yet, as you say, he couldn't get in the Manchester City team. Now, he
never got a sniff at Man City, but his contract was coming to a point where Man City knew he wasn't going to sign another one, so they had to take what was on offer. And, you know, this is why I think Bayern are playing a game with Chelsea. I don't know how long the lad has on his contract, possibly this year and another year.
Right.
So, you know, I think they might be playing a game of poker with Chelsea.
Just a final point. I mean, it's my point. It makes this a curious case, the case of Odoi. Here you have one of Europe's traditionally greatest clubs, Bayern Munich, looking to buy a player from who's playing for Chelsea reserves. He's a promising young lad, no doubt. Now, you worked for so long at that level in the game, and you played for Juventus. You went to Europe as a fully fledged star player, top player. There's something odd that Bayern Munich have to be looking to England for a player when they must now be not the Bayern Munich that could attract anybody they wanted, but they're coming around looking for lads who can't get into Chelsea's team and looking to pay 30 million.
I don't think there's anything strange about it. I mean, I don't think they just can compete financially with spending 80, 90 million. They wouldn't think about I don't think it'll cross their mind to pay 80 million for a centre back.
No.
Bayern Munich, but Liverpool have just done it with Van Dijk, you know. And they're probably looking, saying, well, you know, this player is a very, very good player, has huge potential. If we buy him for 20 million, you know, he gets in our team and he's playing Champions League football and we're winning the league, we have an asset that will probably go to 50, 60, 70 million. And I think that's probably the way Bayern have to look at things, because they're up against the likes of Man City and they're up against the likes of PSG, who have countries kind of paying the bills, haven't they? They have countries paying the bills. Someone told me that since the people from Abu Dhabi are in Man City, they've spent £1.5 billion on the club.
Yeah, they have, and they're under pressure from UEFA because apparently there's a documentation that shows money that should have come from a sponsor, in fact, came from Abu Dhabi Government Inc.